and welcome to another episode of Ignite Your Power, the Kathy Mao podcast. Today, I'm so excited and honored to have Amy Myers here with me. She is a former teacher turned online marketer and leader with the mental wellness company Amari Global. So, if you want to say hi, Amy.
Hi, everyone. Kathy, thank you so much for this opportunity to share.
Well, yeah, of course. I'm just so excited to have you on. So, welcome to the podcast. To start, can you tell us a bit about yourself and the journey that led you from being a teacher to becoming an entrepreneur?
Oh, I love the question because it makes it sound really important. Like right out of the gate, you're just like, this is who you were, and now you're here. So I love that.
Yeah.
Just to be totally relatable, I'm a mom. I have two boys. They are now out of college and on their own and doing their thing. I've been married 27 years. I met my husband when I was 16, so he is absolutely the love of my life. Um, I feel like there's so many more like tidbit things I could say. I'm a
Yeah.
pilot, actually. So yeah, I love travel, and the only way I could do it on my terms is to be a pilot. So my husband and I were actually both pilots. So we love travel. That lights our soul on fire. So we usually go somewhere once a week. Um, and
Wow.
I think I was a born teacher because of my mother's influence. I loved kids. I loved her classroom. I loved her, of course, but watching her, she lit a passion for me that I just pursued. But with that being said, I knew that being in the classroom would limit me on income. And I was 19 years old. I was still in college. And I remember meeting a man who talked differently than anyone I'd ever heard. And I was one on one with him. My husband and I both met him. And it was actually my friend's father. And he talked about ownership and entrepreneurial and living life on his terms. And like, we've never really heard that. We heard security and go to school and get a job. And all those things have been an amazing blessing to our lives. But to hear him kind of go outside the box, that conversation has stuck with us for years, for decades. And I believe it was meeting this man, his name is John, that led me to just start thinking bigger. He planted the seed. And at 19 years old, I had no idea what that would look like. Um, but it always has been in the back of my mind. So I think that's what took me from teacher to entrepreneur was that conversation.
That's amazing. And John is such a great name, by the way, because my dad was named John, but he passed away almost 10 years ago now. But he was like the same thing. Maybe it's all the Johns. Like he was a very entrepreneur guy. Oh, he came from Taiwan with nothing and like built a business and, showed me how entrepreneurship can be done like with nothing. It's crazy. So I'm glad that you had a conversation too that led you to entrepreneurship. So I just had to share that. I don't know why, but that's so
Love
awesome.
that. And it takes one person to create that ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I love your story because a lot of us get trapped in that 9 to 5 type of job, and that's what we think we have to do. Like, that's what we're raised to think like, oh, you're just gonna go to school and then you're gonna go to college, and then right after you're gonna do the 9 to 5 and love your life, and that's it. And it's like, no, that's not it, right? There's more to life than that. And it seems like you're living that. Like, you're an entrepreneur, you go travel every week. Like that is so amazing. Literally,
Yeah.
that's like life goals. Like I want to live your life. That sounds amazing. And so, I love that you got out of the 9 to 5. You knew that it was not for you. And so, what were some of the signs that literally made you feel like, okay, this is not for me anymore? Like I love teaching, but this 9 to 5 is restricting me. Like, did you start feeling like me? I work a 9 to 5 and I feel like I'm restricted. Like I'm kind of in a jail, but not in a sense.
Yes.
Like your time is set for that specific job and you can't do kind of whatever you would like.
So I really felt like I had a lot of gratitude for my 9 to 5. So I love teaching. My classroom was my happy place. It wasn't this ugly, stressful place. It wasn't chaotic. Like I thrived in the classroom. It was truly my happy place.
Hmm.
With that said, there wasn't the time freedom to come and go, and there definitely was not the financial financial stability. I knew that going into education, I mean, I signed up for it. It wasn't like, oh, you don't make much money in education. No, I knew that long before.
Yeah.
So I always knew that this conversation I had with John had to be my way out and had to be there, something that I was working on constantly. Gratitude right now for your 9 to 5 gives you that financial security to go pursue your passion. I mean, without a stable income, you will always be stressed and worried and thinking about how to pay your bills. So as you start your entrepreneurial journey, give thanks for wherever you're at right now because you can happily focus on your passion while still bringing in an income. And that's what I did in teaching. I knew teaching wasn't going to be a place I retired or yeah, I'm going to say it that way because I don't want to say I didn't want to retire in education. I knew when I got in, I would not be there until I was in my 60s. There was no way because if I was there in my 60s, that meant I did not pursue my dreams and my entrepreneurial spirit. So, but it was the vehicle that allowed me to pursue my passion. So I
Oh,
hope that makes sense. Like, be
yeah.
so grateful for your 9 to 5 because it does take financial stress off of you.
Yeah.
That way, in the evenings or whenever you have free time on the weekends, you can then go pursue the passion that is going to create your abundance.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So that's exactly my case right now. So I'm just working a 9 to 5 and, pursuing my passions on the side. And when I do have extra time, and can you tell us a little bit about what your passions were and what led you actually into your entrepreneurship and like into your business? Because a lot of us struggle with finding our passion. Like they just know, some people get stuck like, okay, I know I don't love this job, but like I'm lost. Like what do I do? Like how do I even pursue my passions? But did you have specific passions just growing up or you just kind of like fell into them? So for me, mine was like, okay, I love helping others. And I was like, okay, somehow coaching kind of like coaching fell into my lap during COVID times because it just kind of blew up coaching. And then I was like, what? You can actually do this and make money? Like, I love always helping other people through that way. And so it
Yeah.
kind of led me into my entrepreneurship and then now leading me into having my own podcast. Like, what? Yeah.
So I think my inspiration for entrepreneurial world is summed up in 2 words, and that is Ethan, Caden. So those are my children.
Oh,
Um, I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Well, let's back up. I wanted to be a mom.
yeah.
Stay at home came with the job when my children were little. I also wanted to contribute to my family financially. And I had to figure out how am I going to do that while being there for my children and creating this income for my family. Well, I happen to have cute kids and I'm not biased. They're precious. And now they're handsome adults. But I literally picked up a camera, and that is the time where we had, film camera. We weren't digital age yet, and I just started taking pictures. The closest portrait studio to where I lived was 2 hours away. So I thought I'm just going to learn how to take pictures, and I did a lot of research, and I took these classes or whatever. All through online, and I just taught myself. I learned light and angles, and they were my best subjects. And I got good at it. And then I thought, I'll just kind of get my name out there and just start taking pictures. Now, I had been a teacher. So all of my kids that were now graduating, they all needed senior pictures. So I gifted them a portrait session and then sent them all the pictures so they could go recreate, duplicate and produce their own images. And then I thought, I wonder if I could start charging for this.
Yeah.
And I did. And then I took it seriously to the point where I turned a very much self-taught hobby into a 6-figure business in a very short time. All
Amazing.
because I started pursuing it and I started adding value to that portrait session. And in my head, and I'm trying to think of how old I was. I was in my early 30s. Financial freedom meant owning a brick and mortar business. That was like the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
What I quickly realized is owning a brick and mortar business is like having another child, a
Yeah.
very demanding, expensive child. There was overhead and stress. And it wasn't long before my portrait studio started pulling me back away from my family because now I'm a wedding photographer and I'm taking pictures on the evening time. And so instead of being present, now I'm pulled back away from my family.
Mm.
Financially, it was a huge blessing. But it did pull me back away from my original inspiration and loves, which were my family. So, on a total whim, my husband got transferred. He did a different job in a different city, and I had this beautiful portrait studio. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this? Because I had developed a name. So I didn't have to do a lot of marketing because it was word of mouth that paid the bills. And I couldn't take that with me. I would have to completely start over. So on a whim, someone came in and said, have you ever considered selling your business? And I was just like, no, I had never given it any thought. And I'm over here going, this is a blessing in disguise and perfect timing. And so I was like, let me come up with a number and let's chat tomorrow. So I did, came up with a number. The next day, I sold my studio,
Whoa.
sold everything. Like I was going to walk away from portrait photography because I knew that brick and mortar was not the answer for me. I
Hmm.
didn't like the overhead and I didn't like the stress of owning that kind of business. So
Yeah.
then that led me to online business, a thing that I could literally pick up my phone and work wherever I wanted, how I wanted, kind of as much as I wanted. Just because we have an online business doesn't mean we can't that we don't need to show up. We do. And so I started kind of diving into that world. Now
Mm.
remember, here's key. I lost my paycheck when I sold my studio.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, and we moved. So I was kind of like, what in the world am I going to do? My kids went back to school, and lo and behold, my son's teacher had to resign on a whim. So I applied for the long term sub. Like, my kid needed a teacher, and I'm like, I'm going back to school. Of course, I fell in love with it all over again. And I briefly put my entrepreneurial heart on the side, kind of while I settled into my new classroom. And it was only 3 or 4 months, and I was back into this. I'm not going to resign as a teacher. I'm not going to retire as a teacher. I've got to start working on something else. Well,
Wow.
about 2020, the pandemic was running rampant through the world. It hadn't quite hit the United States. And I was introduced to a company that foundation was about mental wellness. And I
Mm.
was like, I need to learn more because as a mom, I saw mental wellness with my kids being anxious or stressed or feeling overwhelmed. I clearly saw it in my classroom,
Yeah.
day in and day out.
Yeah.
I saw it in my husband because he has a stressful job, and I felt it in me. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm going to pursue this and figure out the whole online world via the mental wellness company. And then that fast forwards us to today, where I started with the mental wellness company in January of 2020. And by October of 2020, I resigned from teaching. I actually left in the middle of the year.
Wow.
The mental wellness company had provided more than enough opportunity for me to say, I'm out. And of course, that was right during the pandemic where education was not nearly as much fun as it used to be. So
Yeah.
I always said I would stay in education until I was happy. And I really wasn't happy anymore. So I left. I trained the new teacher and returned home and ran my home-based business.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful story. So thank you for sharing the whole journey of like your entrepreneurship. And there's a lot of ups and downs. Like people think it's just linear. Like, okay, here's my business and then I'm just there. You're like, no, you had your portrait business and then, you te taught and then you were teaching and then you did that portrait and then went back to teaching and then now you're at your mental wellness company, Amari, right? Amari Global is where you're at right now. Yeah. And so I love that you shared how it was up and down. It was not a straight linear thing for you. And also, I loved how you mentioned like your story just showed how the universe led you into where you're supposed to be, though. that was like,
Like,
I just kept listening. I was like, wait, what? Someone just came and like bought your studio? Like, how
yes.
perfect timing is that?
Yeah, that story will still give me chills.
It gave me
Um,
chills, like
yeah,
goosebumps.
it's a complete combination of all the powers that be, God working, bringing it all together. I am very much into whatever you put out in the world
Yeah.
is going to happen. So you might as well put out really good stuff and really good thoughts and really big thoughts out there because those thoughts are your heart's desire. And the universe, God, wherever, whatever you believe in, wants to give you that. So if you think icky thoughts, junky thoughts, that's what you're going to get. But if you think, um, I know I can be an entrepreneur, or I know I can start a portrait business, or um, I know I want to retire by the time I'm 50 or 55, whatever it is, things start to align for you.
Yeah.
But you have to be so open to like step into going against the trend of maybe complaining all the time or being a Debbie Downer or looking for the negative. There's a whole lot of that. We have to keep a very clean mindset if we're going to walk into our greatest power.
Yes, exactly. And this is why it's so powerful what you said because it relates to what you do, right? Like with the mental wellness company. And you have to have a positive mindset in order to attract what you want or really, and you have to believe that you deserve it too. Like some people just say it and then they don't actually believe it. It's like you're blocking yourself from receiving also, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like I'm a work in progress. I don't want anyone on this podcast thinking, well, it's easy for her or she's just so positive or whatever. No, it is an intention I set to pour into myself with good podcasts, with people who are already where I'm headed. Um, and there are moments of like complete and utter defeat and negativity, and that's where I have to pause and just be like, just release that. That's not who I am. I mean, we're all humans, so that stuff's going to hit us. But now more than ever, I'm aware of it, and I can shut it down, and then go back to where am I headed? I may not be seeing the results right now today, even though I'm thinking positive and I'm happy. I know where I'm going. And
Yeah.
so, what can I do today to make where I'm going a reality?
I love that. And it's like taking those actions towards what you want too. And that's another key piece is a lot of people manifest in certain ways where they're just like, okay, I'm going to journal and write down these affirmations or whatever, but then they just like never take
They
any
stop.
action towards it. It's not
Yep.
going to come to you. Like, do little baby steps, like, maybe contacting a certain person or like starting to look at your interest or whatever you want to do in your business and like go towards like the thing that you want. And then, the universe will start gifting you. And this is how we got connected, right? We got connected through a mutual friend, Michelle, which she is all about mental wellness. And it was beautiful that we were able to connect because I'm all about teaching people about mental wellness. And I believe it's such a huge key piece that all of us need to focus on these days. And I love that you work at a company that focuses on that. So can you tell us a little bit more about your company and yeah, why you're so passionate about it?
Absolutely. Um, Amari means to love.
Okay.
So, as a mom, as a wife, as a mom, as a woman, that phrase "to love" is very impactful to me. And the mission was based around this whole: if you can better love yourself, you're more capable of loving the world. And when we take that to heart, like how are we loving ourselves? How are we showing up for us, for our family, for our work? Impacts so many things that we need to have mental clarity and energy and everything balanced on the inside and good gut health and good brain health. So it stems from this science around the gut brain axis. So everything around the gut, the brain travels through the vagus nerve and it's clearing up that communication. So it's not just having a healthy gut or thinking positive thoughts, it's that whole, what do I want to call it, ecosystem in our body that works harmoniously so that we do have clarity of thought. So when we do feel doubtful, we can think through it. When things are beyond stressful or overwhelming or even sad, we feel all of that and then we can twist it and turn it to the positive. Um, and then just being more productive and creative and having no brain fog, like it really does impact your day. And I know my kids, when I was teaching, I would give everything I had in the classroom, and 140 students happily took it from me. Like they were just taking my energy, they were taking all the good stuff from me. And by the time I got home, I was zapped.
Mm.
Well, my favorite people are who I'm coming home to, and I had nothing left to give them. And it was that moment of, I'm not being the woman I want to be. I'm not being the mom or the wife I know I can be and that they deserve. So it was my journey that led me down the mental wellness path also. Like I say, oh, I did it for my kids and I did it for my husband and my students. Really started with me. And because I helped myself, I'm better able to help the other people.
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I learned that very, very later on in life.
Yeah, no, it's so true. You can't pour from an empty cup. It's impossible.
Yeah, and I just felt so drained every day. And I was like, how am I not being able to show up? And it really mattered for me when I started becoming a mom because I noticed that when I didn't take care of my mental health, like, so I do a practice. Every morning I'll say three things I'm grateful for or and then meditate and or journal. And so for like the first 2 years being a mom, I did nothing of this because once she woke up, like I just got her ready and did her, like had a routine because that's what most moms do. You just go, go, go. And then I was like getting very irritable. I was just getting like becoming the mom that I did not want to be. And then I was like, okay, I gotta change something. So I told my husband, I was like, you need to handle her for at least 30 minutes in the morning. I need to do something. Like I need to change. I need to do qigong or I need to like meditate. And so I did. I added in. And so, dude, it makes such a huge difference. Like I started being more calm, like more me, and I felt like I was able to tackle the day better just by doing those little things. But you have to put yourself first in order to be able to like be the best version of yourself. So in a sense, it's not being, you know, selfish where people think or may think that it is, but it's like not. You're trying to be the best version for yourself and everybody's going to be affected by it in a good positive way.
Yes, and you asking for help from your husband, that speaks volumes. Like so many of us are like, I've got it all. I'll do it all. And we want that as a woman. We want to feel that empowerment and we got all of our junk together. But you ask for help. And I strongly encourage women, ask for help. Plus, what a great moment for your child and your husband. Like they have that time together, just
Yes.
them. They're going to build that relationship. And I saw something not too long ago on social media. A woman's or a mother's happiness with herself greatly influences her children more than anything else when they're growing up. So we have to show up positive and happy and put together. And I don't even want to say we have to, we get to
Yeah.
because we're impacting our little people.
Yeah, it's so true. I love that. We do get to. And ex again, what your words are super powerful. It really does represent what you want to create in your reality, in your world. So I loved how you changed that to get. Yeah, you get to. And you get to choose every day how you want to show up. And I want people to know that. Like, notice that if you are having a tough time, ask for help or do things that are going to make you feel better. And it's okay to, get the help that you need. Don't feel like you have to just keep going and work yourself to like what, till you get a sickness or whatever it may be. What's the point of that, right? Then everybody's going to have to take care of you when you're sick and like laying in bed. And it's like, there's no point, So,
Many of us, I think we think we're Wonder Women or we're supposed to be Wonder Woman.
yeah.
But Wonder Woman was also part of a team. And
Mm.
so we don't have to do it all. We can be Wonder Woman and still ask for help. And I think maybe it's social media where we're always comparing ourselves to someone else. It's a better world when we work together.
Yeah.
And I was terrible at that. And I can see it now. But when you pour into your kids in such a positive way, when I'm on the other side, now I have adult children, and you hear your adult children talk, and you're like, I'm pretty sure I taught them that. And it's this whole big world picture then you just, I mean, you literally want to pat yourself on the back. I wasn't a perfect parent, but my kids are going to be even better parents. And we break that generational cycle of you don't have to have a 9 to 5 and you can think big and you don't have to save every dime you get. You can spend it on yourself and you can take a day off of work just because you need a mental health day. All those things I grew up with on the flip side of that. And now I'm thinking if I break generational cycles of limiting beliefs. And then my kids are able to break whatever limiting belief I may have passed on to them. Like we're just get better and better and better and better.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so true. And that is why I try to show up every day to be the best version of myself that I can be for that day. I mean, every day is going to be different. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
Some days are just a little bit more harder than other days. It just really depends on how your energy is and your mental health is, like, and what you have going on throughout the day, right? Like, you can't control those things, but like, how do you choose to show up when things don't go your way? But I do try so hard every day to be as patient as possible, to be as loving and nurturing as possible. Like those are the things that I try every day that I can kind of control, even if she's having a tantrum. Like try to breathe and be like, okay, gone through something. I just like I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna get through this, you know. But usually we always get through it. And so women are such powerful beings and I truly believe that we can do anything that we put our mind to. And
So
so,
I, oh, so I once heard this about how to show up. So you are 100% right. There's going to be days where you've only got 50% in the tank. And someone said on those days where you only have 50 or 60 or 90% in your tanks, these are only going to be 10%. You give 100% of that 10. You give 100% of the 50 and give yourself the grace to just, that's today. It doesn't mean you're sad or lonely or mad or frustrated. It just means today you've got 50% in your tank and it's time to rest and rejuvenate. Um, but show up your best, even if it's not your 100%. There's no way to show up 100% every day. You would wear yourself out.
yeah, that's so true. And you wouldn't expect it. You're like, think about it. You're
Right.
not a robot where, of course, they're just made to be like charged every night, you know, to 100%, just like your phone or whatever it may be. It's like we're humans. We don't get charged like that every day. You know, we're not battery or,
Right.
you know,
Right.
electric in that sense. So,
Yes, I love
I
that.
picture it. Yeah. So it's so true. I love that so much. It's true. You can be 100% of your 10% of the day if that's what you need to be. And that's okay. You know, I think a lot of people struggle with, well, I'm not 100%. And like, I want to be that 100%. And then they feel guilty and waste a lot of energy on that. You know?
Yes. There's there's moments of like when we're sick and we're not feeling good at all. And so all you got in your tank is 10%. But being 100% of that 10% means saying thank you if your husband brings you a hot cup of tea or makes you chicken noodle soup, or if your kids check on you and just say, how are you doing, mom? And you don't snap at them and you're not ugly or you're not negative. You're just like, I'm on the mend. Thank you for checking on me. That's 100%. That's all you can give that day. But how you treat other people is such a reflection on who you are as a human being. And it's okay just to be on a day, just a human being, not 100% human being, just someone that is kind and thoughtful. And so much of that goes back into mental wellness, which is clearly why I'm passionate about it.
Oh, I'm so glad that, you know, you're actually pursuing your mental wellness journey and like pursuing your passions. And it helps a lot of people that you are spreading awareness for mental wellness. And it's such an important topic that I believe that everybody should actually practice on a daily basis or learn or do something with their mental wellness. And it shouldn't be taboo that if you aren't feeling the greatest mentally, then it's okay, right? Because in our community or society, I believe that everybody focuses more on our physical health than our mental health. But I believe that our mental health is so important that it should be talked about more so than like physical health.
Yeah,
And
and I think it's the pandemic, after the pandemic, if there's a blessing, it was we made not being okay okay. and we started breaking down the walls and talking about things and coming up with solutions. And I love that we shifted. If anything positive came out, it was that we were breaking stigma and allowing people to feel and just be who they are in that moment instead of hiding all the time. Now it's a conversation. It was so taboo, like you said, but I think it's becoming more mainstream. And instead of only teaching physical health when we're young, we'll start teaching mental health to our younger children. And you're probably already doing it with your own child because you see the value of it.
Yes, I do. I already taught her breath work. So sometimes when
Nice.
she's frustrated and angry, I'm like, breathe with mommy. Like at first she'll be like, no. And then I'll just keep doing it, you know. I'm like, okay, I'll do it myself because I like need to do it too. And I'm taking a deep breath in and then breathing out, and then she'll come to me and she'll be like, breathing, mommy, and then she'll breathe with me. And it's like the cutest thing, like just seeing that. And then she does calm down, you know, because you're giving her an activity to do and she's showing you like, oh my God, I can do it too. I can do what you're doing, you know? And so yeah, I'm just practicing little things like that. What did you teach for your children or your sons on mental wellness and like how to take care of themselves?
So mental wellness was not something that we really focused on until the pandemic. I always knew it was important, but I didn't know how to teach it. Like, think happy thoughts or, maybe some breathing, but it never was like a concrete thought. So once I partnered more with the mental wellness, one, I introduced holistic supplements that allowed them to their gut brain access to work optimally. So now it's more as they're young adults, feel the feels. Like it's okay to not filter how you're feeling. It's okay to be mad. Like get it out, express it, and then let's problem solve through it. Um, a big part with sons and their mental wellness
Yeah.
is letting them know that you respect their thought process while they're thinking through. As a mom, I just want to come in and like fix it and solve it. And I don't know if how I would fix it and solve it would be correct. I'm not a man, so I don't know. But allowing them to think through it and then just guide those conversations, their mental wellness, their confidence in themselves literally soars. Even if they make the wrong decision, they have often come back and said, and when I mean wrong decision, I mean it didn't pan out for them the way they thought. So I don't necessarily believe in right or wrong unless it's a rule. That's one thing. But as they're trying to figure themselves out and it didn't work out, they come back and they say, I tried. And with the information I had, that's the decision I made. Of course, looking back, they could say, I would have done it differently, but really honoring their thought process, respecting them, um, hearing them out, which every once in a while I have to like remember to be quiet and not talk, but just letting them speak through all of their anxiousness or frustration and reminding them like it's totally okay to feel that way. It's not okay to stay that way. We can't stay angry and mad and blow up at people. Not that they do that, but we can't take that out on other people. We don't need to do that. But it's okay that you're angry. That situation wasn't any fun. Now what are we going to do? And I always ask that question. Now what are you going to do? Now what's the next move? How could today end better? And we practice a lot of gratitude. So it's funny you mentioned you start your day with three things. I start and end my day with three things every day. Gratitude explodes your heart in a good way. Um, it keeps you in the present. I'm so thankful for this moment right now instead of, well, I'm not where I want to be, or I haven't made enough money, or I'm still in debt, or whatever it is. Gratitude, like, man, I'm glad I could pay my bills today. Oh, I'm glad I had food on the table. I'm glad I got to take a walk. I'm glad I got to call a friend. I'm thankful for this podcast, this opportunity. Like all the things, just find ways to be thankful. What you focus on grows.
Yeah, I
It's
love
every
that.
time.
I love that so much. Oh my gosh, those are such great tips. Thank you for that because
Oh, you're welcome.
honestly, I wouldn't know how to really, do that. And I had to learn a lot of this myself. And then putting into practice with your child is a different thing. So, like, these are great tips. And I think gratitude also is one of the biggest pieces of shifting your mindset from like the negative or being from a depressed, anxious state. And just by saying gratitude or like things that you're grateful for, it'll help you raise your vibration and change, your outlook. Like, oh, actually, yes, this thing sucked today, but then like when you keep like stating what you're thankful for, you're changing like, oh wow, okay, I do feel better that I do have clothes or, I have water to drink or I have loving family. Like you start feeling the goodness again instead of like going down the rabbit hole of negativity? So it's such a great
Especially
point.
questioning yourself, like the only time I ever suggest people to look back at their past is how far have you come?
Mhm.
Like I'm on this entrepreneurial journey. I haven't reached the goal. But if all I do is focus on what I haven't accomplished, I forget all the great things that have happened just in the last few years, how much I've grown my business, how many people I've impacted, how many lives I've changed, like all the things. We sometimes have to look back and think, man, we've come a long way. Look at you. You have a podcast. Like, I don't know how long you've had your podcast, but I remember, or you remember when it was a thought,
Yeah,
and
true.
then to see how far you've come.
True. It's wow. I never looked back. So this is making me want to do this after we get off of this to like go back and be grateful for of what I've come so far. Because you're right. I've been stuck like looking the future of what I have not, accomplished yet in my business. And I'm like, wow, it is true. It was a thought. And I waited at least a year before I actually did my podcast. So my husband was sweet. He actually bought me like a microphone for a podcast. And then I just left it in the box for like a year. And I was like, I'm not touching this. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Like you get the imposter syndrome. And then, yeah, I've had my podcast for a year and a half now, and it's been doing so well. So it's telling me, like, just like your portrait photography, it just like kind of went and then it took off. So this is kind of how I felt with my podcast. Like I'm doing it and it's like kind of like, just evolved into something I've never even thought that it would be. Because I just started off, wanted to start the podcast to kind of like do brain dumping. And then I just have a lot of thoughts in my mind. And I wanted to be better at speaking because English is my second language. I'm an ESL kid. So I went to speech therapy, at school. It was embarrassing. They take you out to like do speech therapy.
Yes, I remember.
And I was like, why am I getting pulled out of class? Like as a kid, I didn't understand. And they didn't really do a lot of explaining. And plus, I'm an ESL kid, so I didn't really understand. But anyhow, I wanted to get better at speaking. And then just like people were like, I just want to be on your podcast and I want to share my story. And then I was like, yeah, I love people sharing their stories because that's one of the main reasons of how I got to where I am because I listen to people's success stories and I'm like, wow, if they can do it, I can do it too. And so I
Oh,
love how people can share their stories because maybe one story can resonate and change that person's life to go and do and pursue their dreams or passions or to get healthier or whatever it may be? And so,
I
yeah.
think what you said is you were inspired by what other people had accomplished because you were on that same journey. And if you want to become an entrepreneur, whatever that is, you absolutely have to find people to model after. Listen to people who are already there. Listen to people like it's considered personal development, and your friends may not be where you want to be. And the people who love you most might try to hold you back because what you're doing seems scary or weird or out of the box, or they may not even want you to succeed. And that energy can hold you back. It can create doubt and limiting beliefs. It can just flat out annoy you. Follow people, whether it's people you know or podcasts, um, read books, your mentors, whatever it is, find the people who can inspire you and keep pushing you forward because there's going to be plenty of people trying to hold you back. And you just need a few to keep you going. It's a big obstacle in this world or in entrepreneurship for you to go out on a limb and be the 1%. It's 1% because 99 want no part of it. You got to find the 1% of the people who are going to help you get to your goals. And it's tough because that means you may have to um, spend less time with people who aren't supporting you. And sometimes those people are related to you.
Yeah.
So there's a fine balance of, hey, I can't wait to chat with you, to then putting up a little bit of a wall so they don't influence your thinking, your big, bold, beautiful thinking for your life. It's yours. So you get to go choose what you want to do with it.
Oh, thank you for that. I really truly believe that was such good and accurate advice because when I started off with my entrepreneurship, my husband was like, "You're crazy. What are you doing? Like, you're a mom and you're already working at 9 to 5. Like, that's a lot of work. How are you going to do this?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm just going to do it and figure it out." And so I started listening to podcasts like, Tony Robbins and like Jay Shetty and like just developing myself to grow and access like other mindsets of like rather than just what I knew, you know? And I was like just trying to understand what they were thinking and what their thought process was. And every time, every person that, is an entrepreneur, there is a story. There's a story of like why they did their business or how they became where, they are now. And I'm always like inspired of like, wow, their story. Like Tony Robbins, I know he started his job at 19 doing speaking gigs and whatnot, but he was actually helping uh, somebody else. And then somehow he learned all of these tools and things and became who he is now. And I was like, whoa, and he just went for it. Like he was a go-getter. And I was like, okay, I need to be more like that. Like I need to have that mindset to like just go for it. And so, it takes time. It's a journey, right? It's entrepreneurship and self-development is a journey. Like you're
Yeah.
always gonna learn. Like there's
Yeah,
no way that you're gonna be from like A to Z already. It's like you gotta get through all the other letters before you get to the end, goal.
and that's what creates that whole roller coaster ride. It's not a straight to the top, but the
Mhm.
journey is fun. It brings people into your life that you're like, oh, that's fantastic. I'm so glad I got to meet him. Or an experience. Oh, that's so amazing. I'm glad I got to do that.
Yeah, how do you actually enjoy the journey more than in your entrepreneurship? Because I struggle with that. Like, I'm always like looking for the end result. And it seems like you're like enjoying the journey, you're enjoying your life. You're just like I love how you're like kind of going with the ebb and flow. Not per se like, oh, you're just, flowing, but you're like basking in the present, like what you said before. And how do you actually focus on the present? That's something I've been practicing and trying really hard to. But maybe that's just like the MG. I'm a manifesting generator, my human design. So like I'm always on the go, go, go. I want the next thing. I just want things to just happen already. And I just can't like focus and be in the present and just enjoy the journey. But that's what the human experience is to just like enjoy the journey. And entrepreneurship is like, but it's a hard practice. It's a hard practice to yeah, learn and do and be.
So I'm a manifesting generator also. Yeah. I encourage reading a book called The Gap and the Gain. So the gap is the place where you're working hard and you're trying to figure it out and you want to get to the goal. That's the gap. And nothing's happening, or a few things are happening, but you are not where you want to be. And as an entrepreneur, total spoiler alert, you will never be where you want to be. Because once you get to where you're at, you're going to set the next goal and you're going to set the next goal. And it may not be financial, maybe it's something completely different. Maybe it's speaking on stage. But as soon as you think you've arrived, all you did was push the goal back. So as an entrepreneur, you're not going to arrive. You're always going to be evolving. The Gap in the Gain made a huge impact on just enjoying the journey. So I strongly encourage people to read that book because it's all about being present, being grateful for where you're at, all of your experiences, and you'll have a million of them. And most of them will actually be unpleasant as you're an entrepreneur because you're going to fail and you're going to learn and then you're going to grow and it will just repeat. But now it's almost like I look for the problem to solve. I look for how am I going to get over this obstacle? So when we met earlier, you're like, okay, what's the next thing in your business? And I love to travel. I
Yeah.
want to, my kids are gone. So I want to spend my empty nesting years, the back half of my journey, traveling the world. For me to travel the world and write it off on my taxes, I need to do business in other countries.
Yeah.
So I'm currently expanding my business into Europe, into Asia. Why? One, I love pursuing mental wellness and spreading that mission. But as I go and like right now, we're planning a trip to Sweden because I have business builders over there and they would like me to come speak. And I'm like, yes, because why I can write the whole thing off. I can take my husband, we can go on a vacation. I can get up on stage and do my talk, and then we can go vacation.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is the end goal I want. How do I make that happen? Well, we've got to expand. How are we going to expand? I need to reach other markets. How are we going to do that? I need to do this on social media. So everything is a stair step and it didn't happen overnight. I've been in this industry since 2013.
Wow.
Only been in the last few years that I'm reaping more of what I've sown. I still feel like I'm in the gap though, because I'm still chasing the next
Mm.
thing. But sitting in the gap and being grateful for I'm not a teacher anymore. I don't go to a 9 to 5. I travel a lot. My husband and I, we bought a plane. Like we're always moving to the next. That's not to brag. That's not to, but those were our goals. And if I had stayed in the classroom forever, I would have always been thinking, what if?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to do the things I've been doing because that particular industry comes with a very capped income. There isn't any rising up past
Yeah.
a certain level. So we have to be thinking, how did I do that? In the evenings, I'd come home and I didn't really watch TV. I mean, I was a TV watcher, started reading books. I started building a business. I started learning the skills. It doesn't, good things just may not explode overnight, but every day, good things can happen in your business that takes you one step farther.
Oh, I
It's
love
a process.
Yes. That is such good advice. I'm like literally like basking in what you just said because I was like, okay, I gotta practice it. And how am I gonna practice it? My MG mind's going like, oh, okay, how am I gonna take this advice? And it's true. You made this life happen for you, but it's through your actions, your hard work, like you sacrificing sitting around watching TV, instead reading, like, developing yourself and doing the things and moving the needle, right? Taking the action steps to get to where you need to be. That's amazing. I like am so inspired by you, honestly. Like that is something that I'm aiming to be in the future, you know? It's gonna take some time, but that's exactly what I want to do. Like, I want to travel the world with my family and be able to speak and, like,
Mhm.
enjoy the world of what it has to offer. And you buying a plane and having and being able to do that is just beautiful. Like, you're an example of all your hard work and dedication can be something. And, and it's okay to always keep chasing something, but bask in the now and the present and be grateful and look back at what you've accomplished in the past too. I think I really need to sit back and do that. Like I have not done that. All I keep doing is looking forward. Like, what have I not done? Oh my gosh. Like I need to go back and thank you for making me reflect. Like, yeah, this podcast was something that, was just a thought and now we're here. Like,
Now
what?
you're here.
That's so
Yes,
true. Like,
congratulations. That's huge. It is absolutely huge. And when we focus on gratitude, like, oh, I've got new customers, or I did 3 more podcasts, or whatever, when that's the energy, more of that flows to us. They always say, wherever your energy goes, or wherever your thoughts go, your energy flows. So we've got to create that in our mind first to even make it a reality. And not everybody wants to buy a plane, and not everybody wants to travel the world. And most people never want to get up on a stage and speak. But what is your goal?
yeah.
And whatever vehicle you're in right now, whether it's your 9 to 5 or an online business or creating a podcast or a community, whatever it is, does that take you to your goal? And if not, it's okay to think outside the box. And if I could help people do anything, I want them to dream bigger. I want them to dream bigger. I want mom and dads to show up really, really well for their families. I want kids to break through barriers in society and, stop the generational cycles. And financial stress is a big part of mental wellness. And financial stress keeps us living small. I
Yes.
couldn't do all the things I'm doing now on a teacher income. There was no way. So, and we need everybody in, society to do their thing. But if you have the inkling to be an entrepreneur, go for it.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
for it. It's not for everybody, but if it's for you, don't let anything stand in your way.
Yeah, because only you are standing in your own way. Like honestly, just yourself and your fears and all
Mhm.
the things that are popping up in your heads telling you no, 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 like your ego mind, no, don't do it. But like you have this gut feeling like, no, I meant to do it. Like you just know you're
You're-
supposed to be doing that.
yes, you're meant for more. One last story, if I can, because I want to
Yes.
talk about ebb and flow.
Yes.
So, a year ago in February, it was Super Bowl Sunday. And I got a weird text on my phone, and it was a business text. So I was like, oh, someone wants to learn more about Amari. I was so excited. And when I said, hey, who am I speaking to? Because their name wasn't in my contact, all I got back was someone. And I was like, okay, I don't play that game. I have no idea. That's weird. The very next text was, I'm going to ruin your life and destroy your Amari business. And I was like, what is this? So
Yeah.
I immediately tried to log into my business account and I was locked out. I went to my Facebook account, locked out, Instagram, TikTok, my email server, my Gmail account, Google, everything. I was hacked, completely hacked, every aspect of my life. Just a random, incident. Someone got my stuff off the black, dark web, whatever it's called, and literally destroyed my social media presence where I built my business in a matter of seconds. Outside of not having a clue how to handle that, my vision never changed. So after 8 days of stopping the bleeding, financially and all the crazy chaos, I opened up a brand new Facebook account with 0 followers. I opened up a new TikTok account with 0 followers, and I started over a year ago.
Oh,
So it will ebb and flow. The world's going to throw crazy things at you. But when you have that entrepreneurial spirit, I literally sent back a text and told him, you have no power over me.
amazing. Oh
And
my
I just kept going. Now, granted, for 2 weeks, I literally had no idea what to do. I was stumped because what do you do? But a few people reached out and they're just like, can I give you a tip? Because this wasn't like, oh, someone got into my account. No, this was, we had to do all the wiring in our home, buy all new computers, new routers. Like it was the hacking of the century. Never once changed my vision. All I had to do was think, what's the next step? What's the next step? And
Oh,
I just kept moving forward. Is my business where it was before the hacking? It is not. We slid way back because I had to start over. Is my mindset better than it was before the hacking? Absolutely. I'm completely unstoppable because I have a vision way bigger than any hacker that's trying to disrupt my life.
oh
That's
my,
where you got to get to. You blind faith, unwavering belief will get you to wherever you're going. And just know it may take time and it could happen tomorrow, but it's okay if it takes time. There's a journey there. I'm not sure what I learned about that whole hacking experience. I'm not sure what the point of it was outside of without a shadow of a doubt. I know I will get to where I'm going.
yeah, it just showed how resilient you are and shows like
I don't
literally,
know.
yeah, it shows that, even though they try to bring you down, you're like, nope, you can't bring me down. I'm gonna show you and prove to you like I'm still meant to do what I'm meant to do. Man, that story gave me chills. So thank you for sharing that. That was so powerful because you literally got hacked everything and you had to restart everything and you're still being positive and laughing about it. Like, Wow, look at that attitude. Like,
Oh, yeah, and I can say that on the tail end. If you'd seen me a year ago, it was more just like I would literally sit here and think, what's the next thing I can do? Oh, I could stop the bleeding over here, or I could stop the bleeding in my PayPal account, or wherever it was like streaming from. But all I knew is for whatever reason, I know this happened for me.
mm,
I'm not sure why still, but there's what not without a shadow of a doubt. It happened for me. It didn't happen to me. I only got that way because I poured into myself with personal development and Tony Robbins and all the famous gurus out there. Find one you love to listen to and let them pour into you because you may not be getting it from the external people around you. So
yeah.
let a total stranger pour into you. They've been there. They probably went through something, maybe not a hacking, but they went through something and they came out on the other side and they just empower you to do the same. Okay.
Love it. That was so good. This honestly has been such an insightful conversation. Like, I got so much good tidbits. All the listeners should listen to this twice because there is so much good information. Like, I'm gonna go back and take notes because I couldn't even grasp all of it. I was like trying to process it, but then I was like, wait, I gotta talk to you, you know? So, where can our listeners find out more about your work or connect with you or even work with you if they're interested?
Literally, I was thinking about this. The easiest way is let's be friends on Facebook. Like, come get to know me. I want to know you. I'm very engaged with my audience. I have a small following because I've only started a year. Um, but I want to get to know you, and you will see my work and more of what I do and who I serve. So let's be friends on Facebook.
Sounds good. And I'll put all the links in the bio so people can go and access it, and it makes all our lives easier. So, thank you again for today's such an amazing conversation. Like, you are such a true inspiration, and someone literally will learn so much from this episode. I definitely already learned a lot, so I know that other people will. So, thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. This was amazing. I
Oh,
Everybody thinks we don't have a story, but when we get a chance to share it and we see someone receive it, then it's like, oh, it may not be this earth-shattering story, but if it makes an impact to one, then we've shown up and we've served.
yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.